The room was quiet, except for the faint hum of machinery from the spaceship's core. Its walls glowed with a soft, blue light, reflecting off polished metal panels that stretched across the floor. Every step echoed softly, but it was the silence that made the room feel larger than it really was. Human eyes often struggled to understand alien spaces, but James had grown accustomed to it. Access Mon, Con 2. Or at least, he thought he had. He had been aboard the research vessel Orion's Edge for nearly 2 months now, sent to study newly discovered alien worlds at the edge of human-explored space. He was part of a small team of scientists and explorers, the kind who thrived on danger and the unknown. Yet, nothing in his training had prepared him for what happened tonight. The door hissed open behind him. James turned, expecting a colleague, but the corridor was empty. A chill ran down his spine. The air smelled faintly metallic, like iron, and James shivered. He had learned to trust his instincts in these situations. Something was not right. A soft, rhythmic sound caught his attention. Footsteps, but not human. They were too light, too deliberate, almost like they were floating across the floor. James froze, scanning the room. A shadow moved near the far wall, and he tensed. His hand instinctively reached for the pulse scanner at his belt, though he knew it wouldn't do much against whatever this was. Then she appeared. Not a human, but something similar. Her skin shimmered faintly in the blue light, and her movements were fluid, almost liquid, like she glided rather than walked. Her eyes, large and intelligent, locked onto his, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. There was no hostility, no aggression. She simply looked at him, and something in her gaze suggested curiosity. A curiosity that was human in its intensity, yet alien in its expression. James stepped back, unsure whether to call for backup or wait. The ship's communication system was offline for routine maintenance, and the nearest crew members were in the other wing. He had no choice but to face this alone. The alien, she didn't speak in any language he recognized, but somehow, he understood her intentions. She wanted him to follow. Her movements were confident, almost playful, as if testing his courage. Hesitation was not an option. James swallowed hard. "Okay. Lead the way," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. She turned, gliding across the room, and disappeared through a narrow corridor that James hadn't noticed before. The walls seemed to shift, accommodating her strange form, and he realized that this ship, or at least this section of it, was alive in some sense. The metal walls pulsed faintly, responding to her presence. As he followed, James wondered what he had stumbled into. This was no ordinary alien life form. She was intelligent, aware, and, in some way, familiar. His mind raced with questions. Why was she here? Was she friendly? Was this some kind of test? The corridor opened into a circular chamber, bathed in soft golden light. In the center floated a small orb, glowing and spinning slowly. The alien approached it, her hand brushing the surface without touching it, and the orb responded. Streams of light danced across the room, forming patterns James couldn't comprehend. Symbols, perhaps, or a language he had never seen. She turned back to him, eyes wide, as if asking him to understand. And then, without warning, she made a motion crawling onto the platform beside the orb, the light reflecting off her shimmering skin. She smiled. It was not a human smile, but it conveyed reassurance, trust, and invitation. She was showing him that she meant no harm, and she wanted him to see, to experience, something extraordinary. James's heart pounded. This was unlike anything he had encountered in his career. He had seen alien worlds, alien species, even hostile ones, but never anything that felt so personal, so intelligent. He took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. Slowly, he stepped onto the platform, the surface responding to his weight. The orb's light pulsed, projecting images around the chamber. Stars, planets, and galaxies unfolded in a three-dimensional map, spinning and shifting in space. It was a navigation system, James realized. But more than that, it was a story. A record of travel, of civilizations, of knowledge beyond anything humans had discovered. The alien reached out, touching one of the holographic planets. The air vibrated, and a scene appeared. A bustling city, but not human. Tall, elegant towers of crystal and light, vehicles floating through the sky without engines, and beings like her moving gracefully through the streets. The city seemed peaceful, advanced, and yet isolated. James could feel the loneliness emanating from the image, the absence of connection, despite all the technology. She turned to him again, and for the first time, she spoke not in words, but in a series of tones and lights. James didn't understand the language, yet the meaning was clear. "This is my home. This is where I come from. I want you to see it, to understand it." He nodded, unsure how else to respond. Communication with alien species had always been the most challenging aspect of his work, and yet here, he somehow felt he could comprehend her intent. There was no threat, no hidden agenda, just a desire to share, to connect, to bridge the gap between human and alien. The chamber seemed to expand as the orb projected more images. James saw alien landscapes, forests that glowed at night, oceans that sparkled with light from unknown organisms, skies painted with colors he didn't have names for. Each scene was more breathtaking than the last, and he felt a mixture of awe and humility. Humanity had explored so much, yet compared to this, they were still children playing at the edge of the universe. Suddenly, the light shifted. The orb focused on a single planet, smaller than the others, barren but glowing faintly. The alien pointed to it. James realized this was the reason she had come. Something about this planet was important, dangerous, perhaps, or in need of aid. The urgency in her gesture was unmistakable. He stepped closer to the orb, studying the projection. The planet's surface was scarred, pocked with craters, and emitting bursts of energy that suggested instability. If left unchecked, it could threaten nearby systems. James's mind raced. Was she asking for his help? Was he capable of understanding the technology needed to intervene? Before he could speak, the alien touched the orb again, sending a pulse through the platform. A holographic map of the surrounding star systems appeared, highlighting safe paths and obstacles. She gestured to him, indicating that they needed to act quickly. James's training kicked in. He was not a soldier, but he was resourceful. If this alien had chosen him for a task, he would not fail. He nodded, determination hardening in his chest. Whatever the mission, whatever the danger, he would face it. Humanity had never backed down from the unknown, and he would carry that legacy into the stars. As they prepared to leave the chamber, the alien gave him one last gesture, a small, intricate pattern of lights. It was a greeting, a warning, and a promise all at once. James didn't understand it fully, but he felt its meaning deep in his bones. Trust yourself. You are not alone. The platform shifted beneath them, moving toward a new corridor that led to the ship's launch bay. The orb's projections faded, leaving only the golden glow of the chamber. James glanced at her once more. Her eyes reflected the stars, full of knowledge, hope, and a challenge. He smiled back, realizing that humanity had always faced impossible odds, and somehow, they always found a way. Whatever awaited them outside the chamber, he knew this. The universe was vast, mysterious, and full of wonders beyond imagination. And for the first time in his life, James felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be, standing on the edge of discovery, guided by a being far older, wiser, and more alien than anything he had ever known. Together, they stepped into the corridor, leaving the safety of the chamber behind. The hum of the ship grew louder, and the path ahead was uncertain. But James felt ready. For the first time, the stars didn't seem so far away. They were within reach. And humanity had a place among them. And somewhere in the depths of space, an alien being had chosen him to prove it. The corridor twisted and turned, far longer than it had appeared from the chamber. James followed the alien closely, every step echoing against smooth, metallic walls. His pulse raced, but he forced himself to stay calm. He didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was clear. This was not a simple exploration. This was a test of courage, intelligence, and perhaps something more, something he didn't yet understand. The alien stopped before a tall, translucent door. Light shimmered through it, pulsating softly like the heartbeat of the ship itself. She raised a hand, and the door responded, parting silently to reveal a wide, open space. Beyond lay the launch bay. But unlike any human facility he had seen, ships hovered in mid-air, completely unsupported, their surfaces glowing faintly with energy fields. The largest vessel, sleek and silver, seemed alive, its curves perfect, as if shaped by some intelligent hand rather than human engineering. James's jaw dropped. He had seen advanced alien technology before, but this was something else entirely. The alien gestured to the largest ship, then back at him. He understood immediately. This was their transport. He had to get inside. The ship's doors slid open without sound, revealing a cockpit bathed in soft white light. The controls were strange, with no buttons or levers, just surfaces that reacted to touch and thought. James stepped forward cautiously, his hand hovering over one of the panels. The alien placed her hand beside his. The ship responded instantly. Symbols lit up, moving like stars across the surface, arranging themselves into patterns James could barely comprehend. Somehow, he knew how to guide it. His thoughts merged with the controls, and the ship shuddered, then lifted gently into the air. The alien gave a soft, approving hum, and James realized they were ready to leave. The launch bay doors opened, revealing the stars beyond. Countless points of light stretched in every direction. Some clustered into galaxies, others scattered across the darkness like diamonds on black velvet. James felt a thrill unlike any other, a mixture of fear, awe, and excitement. Humanity had reached for the stars, but this was something far beyond what he had imagined. They accelerated smoothly, leaving the ship behind. The alien remained beside him, her presence comforting, yet filled with an intensity that made him aware of every decision he made. She did not speak, but he didn't need words. Her guidance was clear, and James felt a growing connection to her intelligence, her understanding, and perhaps her trust. Soon, the barren planet from the orb's projection came into view. Its surface burned with violent energy bursts, and James could feel the instability even from orbit. Satellites and monitoring devices, remnants of unknown civilizations, floated aimlessly above the planet. Some destroyed, others flickering with failing energy. This was why she had brought him here. The alien gestured at the surface, indicating a point of entry. James studied the planet. Landing here would be risky. The surface was unstable, with cracks releasing plumes of energy that could destroy any ship. But hesitation was not an option. The alien's gaze was firm, and he understood. The lives of countless beings, or perhaps the stability of the system itself, depended on their success. He guided the ship carefully, following the alien's subtle gestures. They descended slowly, dodging bursts of energy that erupted from the planet like violent lightning strikes. The ship trembled, but it held together, responding to both James's thoughts and the alien's guidance. It was a delicate dance, one that required precision, courage, and trust. Finally, they landed near a cluster of energy vents. The ship settled onto the surface with a soft hum, and James exhaled, feeling the tension leave his body just slightly. They stepped out, and the planet's harsh environment hit him immediately. The ground shimmered with energy, and the air was filled with faint electrical discharges. This was no ordinary planet. It was alive in a way humans could barely understand. The alien led him toward the largest vent. From it came a roaring sound, vibrating through the ground and making James's teeth chatter. He realized that inside was the source of the instability. Perhaps a reactor, a core, or some alien device. He wasn't sure. The alien did not speak, but her gestures were clear. They had to stabilize it, or the planet would explode, sending shockwaves through nearby star systems. James approached the vent cautiously. The air crackled with energy, and the ground beneath his feet pulsed in rhythm with the vent's power. He had no tools, no manual, only his mind, his instincts, and the guidance of the alien beside him. She extended her hands, touching the ground lightly. Energy flowed from her into the vent, stabilizing some of the bursts. But it wasn't enough. He had an idea. Drawing on his knowledge of physics and energy manipulation, he carefully used the ship's energy field to channel a stabilizing pulse into the vent. The alien mirrored his actions, and together they formed a network of control. The bursts of energy gradually became less violent, the ground less unstable. James could feel the planet responding, calming under their combined efforts. It was exhausting work, both physically and mentally. James had never felt such strain. The vents stopped erupting violently. The surface settled, and a strange, harmonious vibration spread through the planet. James realized they had done it. They had saved it. The alien turned to him, her eyes reflecting relief and something else, admiration. James smiled, tired but triumphant. He had faced the unknown, relied on his wits, and succeeded. Humanity had always found a way, and here, among the stars, he had proven it once again. They returned to the ship, leaving the planet stabilized but still alive with faint energy pulses. As they lifted off, James looked back at the barren world. Now peaceful. The alien touched his shoulder, a gesture of gratitude and partnership. He felt a deep sense of connection, not just to her, but to the universe itself. Their journey back was quiet, both of them lost in thought. James realized that he had learned more in these few hours than he had in years of training. Courage was not just about facing danger, it was about understanding, adapting, and trusting oneself, even in the most alien circumstances. When they finally returned to the Orion's edge, the alien led him to the main observation deck. From there, James could see the ship's crew, unaware of the adventure he had just endured. He smiled quietly, knowing that humanity's story was far from over. This encounter, this partnership, would change everything. Humans were explorers, builders, and fighters, and among the stars, they would always find a way. The alien gave one last gesture before leaving a series of lights forming a pattern on the observation deck window. James understood it immediately. You are welcome here. You are part of this now. 9, 9, 9, 9. James stood silently, staring at the stars. Humanity had reached the edge of the known universe, and beyond it lay challenges, discoveries, and allies waiting to be found. He felt pride, not just in himself, but in the species he represented. Humans were resilient, clever, and courageous. They could face any unknown, bridge any gap, and rise to any challenge. The alien returned to her vessel, disappearing into the night sky. James watched her go, knowing their paths would cross again. He had seen the vastness of the universe and humanity's potential within it, and he understood, more than ever, that the greatest strength of all was not technology or weapons, but the human heart, the ability to face fear, to act with courage, and to trust in oneself, even in the most alien of circumstances. As the Orion's Edge set course for home, James felt a deep sense of purpose. The stars were no longer distant points of light. They were opportunities. Humanity had a place among them, and he would help ensure they took it. The universe was waiting, and humanity was ready.